PlayStation 4 Slim motherboard. Let me show you what's going on with this one. Okay, and as you can see, we have a little bit of carnage here. This was a destroyed HDMI port on this PlayStation 4 Slim. This was done by the owner of the device. They snapped it off pretty good. It doesn't look like they took any pads with it, but the real concern is going to be these anchor pads. There doesn't appear to be a whole lot left of them. It does appear that there's some still left inside the holes, at least. But otherwise, not looking great on either side. It's not looking as bad as I was expecting. It looks like this one's really the only one that's actually like totally gone. But we'll have to clean that up and take a closer look at. We're also missing filters, and it looks like a small component here. I do have a donor for this device, so we will replace all those. I'm probably going to replace those first before we worry about the HDMI port. Just to get them out of the way, appears we need this little component here and all these filters off the donor. I think we'll just go ahead and pull those. Find a tray to put everything in. While I am setting up my equipment, I will throw out my expected temperatures for this job. I probably will use the lower airspeed on the Atten airflow for putting the filters in place. If I have to do it with hot air, I may attempt to do it with just by hand. Otherwise, these should be the temperatures I'm expecting to use on this job. As always, these temperatures are brought to you by the Amazon Associate links in the description. If you click on one of those links and buy one of those pieces of equipment, or if you buy anything during the session after clicking on one of those links, a small portion of that purchase will go to supporting the channel and be greatly appreciated. It will not cost you an extra dime. Switch you back to Microscope. Let's go ahead and pull these components. As stated, this is a donor board, so I don't really care about damaging or harming anything on this board. So we'll just go ahead and freely use our hot air. Sometimes getting it off the tweezers is just as hard as getting it off the board. And we need this a little faster. Okay, I'm going to add some leaded on these pads just to make reworking them a little easier, and the soldering a little easier. Lower the melting temperature because what they use in manufacturing is unleaded solder, which is high temperature typically. That was not the best approach. No, that's not going well. That is not going how we want it to go. Try again. There we go. Much better. Alright, I think we got one. Okay. All right. Filter 2 in place. Sorry it was out of focus there. We'll try to do the rest in focus. Okay. Filter 3 in place. All right, filter 4 in place. Precision tools are lovely, and if you ever want to buy yourself one of those Pico pencils, as I said in the temperature card, those links are in the description. I highly recommend that iron. It is by far my favorite iron. It can't do everything, but what it does very well. Okay, now this one will be a challenge. Wait a minute, that's not the right cap. That cap's way too big. Again, this is another donor, so we're not concerned with anything that happens to it. Alright, see if we can get that thing in place. This will be a little bit more of a challenge than the filters, but we will try. The hands are if we can. Does not have to be perfect or pretty necessarily, as long as it's connected. We did it very nicely. Take a look at the filters and make sure we have gotten them all down. Oh yeah. Let's clean up this HDMI port area a little bit, get a better look at everything, see what we have to work with. There's still some pads left on the anchors. When they sent me the pictures of these, they looked much worse. Thought for sure we were going to have to come up with something, some other way of addressing them, but it should be okay. I may have to do a little bit of scraping on the other side of the board where we've lost that one anchor, just to lend some strength, more strength to the port. Clean this side up a little bit, and we'll have a look at the other side. Let's put a little ball of solder on our micro pencil with the bent chisel tip, all in the description. And we're just going to run the ball of solder over the pads mostly. Not really making contact with the iron too much. And that's how you get the nice puffy pillows. We're definitely going to need to do some cleanup over here. Remember, Remember, you're just gliding over these, you're not scrubbing, so don't scrub. Okay, not terrible. We are missing that one pad. We can address that one anchor point. It may not be totally necessary, but we can address it by scraping around this one and bridging over some solder just to hold on to it from this side. Okay, we're just going to put some fresh flux on the pads, and then we're going to step over and do some port prepping. Okay, as I failed to order any ports for the PS4 Slim, apparently at some point, and normally I'm pretty good about ordering them when I run out, but I chose not to this time. We're going to pull one off one of these donors and use it. In this case, I will not be using low melts because I don't want low melt to be mixed on to the ports. I will be flooding it just with normal leaded solder. It'll take a little longer to pull, but that's fine. We will go about pulling this port. Like I said, it'll take a little bit more patience because we are dealing with unleaded solder. I'm sorry, dealing with leaded solder rather than low melt. Alright, start focusing in where the pins are. And we're looking for a graceful pull here. Okay, and it looks like we succeeded. No pull pads, no burnt plastic, very good. Okay, I'm going to touch up the port a little bit. Remove the bridges at least. Okay, that should be good. Okay, I'm going to have to clean out the anchors a little bit too. Alright, so it's not going to sit flat on there, but it will once we get it flowing. The goal here is to flow it in very similar to the Nintendo Switch. Rapid air movement, we're bringing up the temperature of the board enough to flow the solder. Once those anchor points get warm enough, it'll fall into place too. Should. There we go. There's one side. There's the other side. getting a little bit of plastic burning because we weren't making contact with the board, unfortunately. Okay, I think we're down. We'll give it a rest. We'll hold it down while the solder on the pin's wet. Solder on the pin's dry. Let's take a look. Yeah, we got a little scorching on the ends there, but nothing too terrible. Every pin is nice and flowed in, looks like. We will double check though. We have to touch them up, not a big deal. And it does not look like touch-up will be necessary. Awesome. Alright, let's go ahead and address these anchor points that we can address. Looks like we can feed some into this one. I'm not going to have any on the outside here, but we'll adjust that shortly. And we are correct, it did feed through. Very good. What I'm going to do here is scrape around this, and then we'll bridge over some solder over there just to lend it a little more strength. I don't think it's entirely necessary here, but it ain't going to hurt anything either. Quick and easy with the pin grinder. That is in the description below. I highly recommend that tool. Okay, in this particular case, we really don't want to use much flux. We're trying to bridge over a nice big chunk of this solder over to that. The more flux you have, the harder that will be. Flux prevents bridges. May be easier done with the micro pencil. There we go. Can get a nice big chunk of it bridged over. Okay, with the bridge over to the other side too. That isn't going to hurt. Okay, not pretty, but it'll lend that anchor point some strength. Not 100% that was necessary, but it ain't going to hurt anything. All that is left to do is clean off the port, and it'll be good to go. Okay, if you've managed to do some damage to your own device, like this customer did, and you need somebody to repair it, just stick around for the end cards or check out the links in the description, and I could probably help you out with that. And if you just want to continue learning how to do this on your own, please check out the next video. I'll see you there.